the Summer Solstice in Community.
Join our annual Arts and Wellness Festival to connect, create, and celebrate with the Soultry Sisters.
In 2023, we explored what it means to cultivate your sanctuary.
Our 3-day festival highlights BIPOC, women, and queer artists and wellness practitioners based in San Diego.
Each year, we collaborate with featured guest artists to build our festival program, which includes creative expression classes, wellness workshops, and performances.
Day 1 of the festival is all about connection. We begin our festival with a social mixer where attendees enjoy music, dancing, and have an opportunity to meet other attendees, guest artists, and us.
Day 2 of the festival is all about creating. Our arts and wellness workshops give folks an opportunity to explore, embrace, and embody what cultivating your sanctuary means to them.
Day 3 of the festival is all about celebration. There is music, dancing, performances, and an open mic for attendees to share. Without a doubt, we always close with a dance party and teach folks the sultry strut.
We are grateful for all the memories made each year at our Summer Solstice Arts and Wellness Festival, and we can't wait to see you next year.
In the meantime, remember to keep living vibrant and shining bright.
Hey!
Welcome, y'all, to our second week of our Countdown to Summer Solstice Festival series. How y'all doing?
Yes, it's literally next month. It is June is the festival. It's already May. I feel like time is flying, but it's so nice to have this space to connect with you all.
Yes. So if you are not aware of what the Soultry Sisters Festival is, definitely make sure to check out our website to learn more about the festival. It is June 21st through 23rd in San Diego, California, specifically North County. This year it'll be in Carlsbad, and we hope that you can join us. If you are looking to collaborate with us in the future, this is a beautiful experience for you to come and enjoy some festivities. It's kind of a reunion for Sultry Sisters. Tony's in town. A lot of our friends and family come. So it is a community affair, and we hope you can join us.
Yes, so I guess we could do our check-in. So I'm tuning in from the DC area still, not quite yet back in San Diego yet. And of course, I have my drink options. Number one, because now you know it's spring, summer season because Trader Joe's has a sparkling watermelon back
Mhm.
in inventory. Okay, y'all, I'm not sponsored, but I should be at Trader Joe's. And I have some H2O, of course.
I love it. I love it. I'm tuning in from Oceanside, California, and I'm sipping on some hibiscus and green tea. It's a little mix of the two. Tony is an herbalist, and I was like telling her all the things I'm going through, and I was like, give me them herbs. What should I drink? And so this is some of the herbs she recommended for me to drink. So that's what I'm sipping on. And it's hot.
Nice, nice. So if you're joining us live, whether on YouTube Live, Facebook, or Instagram, just comment below and then we can pop up on the screen.
If you're new to our YouTube channel, make sure to subscribe. If you're following us on Instagram, make sure to like and follow. Also, click the notification buttons because you definitely want to know when we are having different events. You want to know when we're putting on different call to action. So make sure to click that notification button as well on both.
Nice. We have the Persian Place tuning in from Instagram Live.
Yes, we met them on Friday at the Ocean O Arts Creative Community Impact event. So happy to have you joining us on Instagram.
Yes, I guess we could share with our live family. So yeah, at the O Arts Festival, so our hometown is Oceanside, and so it was a whole fest of awesome things highlighting Oceanside artists, cultural practitioners, and just all awesome things going on in our city. And they announced this year's grant winners for the new arts and cultural grant that they launched, and Soultry Sisters was awarded to do our radical soul care workshops in our hometown. So we're really, really excited for the grant. It's an affirmation of sorts of the work
Mhm.
we do. And we're just so excited to bring more programming to y'all in the fall. So stay tuned because the festival is like our big shebang of the year. Then we go take a rest break. And then now we got some funding to do some really awesome stuff. So
Yes.
definitely stay tuned and join our email list on our website if you don't already.
Yes, and it's our first time being funded by Oceanside, so we hope it's the first of many. But we got to remind y'all our roots. We came from getting support from our familia. So thank you, Soultry fam, for supporting us from day one. So if you're like, you know what, I love what Soultry Sisters are doing, we always welcome donations and all forms of support. That can be like and subscribing, sharing our events with your family and friends. We appreciate the support. And honestly, without that, we wouldn't have been able to make it to this point to receive such a large grant from the city of Oceanside. So we just want to say thank you, community, for always showing up and showing out for us.
Yes. And of course, we're on YouTube. So if you haven't already, definitely subscribe to our channel at Soultry Sisters. We keep growing, and this is a great place for y'all to join because if you don't already, I think most people follow us on Instagram, but YouTube, we have like a guided meditation, we have some movement videos on there, like yoga and Pilates. And we also have our past hangouts. So we
Mhm.
used to be on Hangout like almost every week from the
Every
pandemic
Sunday.
to I think to like 2021, 2022. We were pretty consistent. And so you can go back and see some of our past hangouts. But yeah, we thought to bring them back for the festival. So people all around the world, because our community is global, can tune in and learn more about our festival and just a way for us to creatively count down and to learn more from our guest artists.
Yes, and if you want to now, our registration is live. You can register by going to soultrysisters.com slash SS Festival. And we also, speaking of grants, have a scholarship and artist grant. So if you want to attend the festival, you're a community-based artist, or you're a person that really feels connected to the work that we do and you're facing any financial hardship, fill out that form and you will be able to come to the festival all 3 days, or you can pick a day or a mixer. It's really important for us that our events and our community arts and wellness engagements are accessible to all. So no one will ever be turned away for a lack of funds. So make sure whether you want to be a patron and pay for a ticket or whether you want to be a supporter and just engage with us, make sure to do that, register, because it means a lot to know who's coming ahead of time.
Yes, and I'm adding in the chat the direct links to the artist grant, and then also I'll add the link for the scholarship form.
Awesome, awesome. But today's hangout is a little bit extra special because it won't just be Tony and I here chatting it up, talking about the festival. We are having two amazing guest artists join us to talk about their offerings that they'll be having at this year's festival. These two guest artists have been in community with us for some time now. So it's really just a chance for us to kiki, learn more about them, highlight what they're doing in their communities, and really just celebrate the reunion we're about to have in a month.
Yes, and so we thought not only to promote the theme, like last week we went really more in depth about our theme, but we wanted to also highlight the different elements that our festival entails. Because again, it's a whole 3 day weekend long experience, retreat of sorts. And so today we're talking about sound healing and music.
Yes, sound healing and music. And y'all know Tony and I are dancers. We are mindful movers. And that is how we get our vibes right, through music and through sound.
So without further ado, we can bring on our guests, Yane Rivera and Sierra Dominique.
Yes, welcome, welcome.
Yes.
Hey. Hello.
So we want to start by asking y'all to share where you are tuning in from and what you are sipping on.
Okay.
Either one.
Okay. So I am currently in Sorrento Valley, but I live and reside in Lemon Grove in San Diego, and I'm sipping on H2O.
Okay, we love a little H2O.
Yeah.
I call it H2O.
Fancy.
Well, I am tuning in from El Cajon, and currently sipping on H2O as AJ. So
We
warmly
love
named.
it.
I'm liking it. I'm liking it. So sipping on some H2O. Yes. From El
Now
Cajon.
it's gonna be a whole thing now.
Yeah. Now, hey, you don't want to get me
Yeah.
started on a word. Yeah.
We starting trends.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, welcome, welcome. And so we want to give space for you all to introduce yourself. So I guess we could start with Iana if you want to share a little bit about yourself, your art practice, your creative practice, and kind of anything else you want to share.
Yeah, so I'm a SoCal girl, born and raised, born in Santa Ana. What?
Right.
But I've called San Diego home for quite some time. And my background and like my larger career has been in the research sciences. So I'm in Sorrento Valley. So I actually work, my day job is a research associate as in a biotech company. My passion is working with sound as a way to support you to see yourself. So sound is frequency and vibration, and that connects immediately to our bodies. And so, one moment.
Yes, that's fine.
Pause.
Okay.
Have a good one. Sound speaks immediately to the body. And so I use sound as a way for us to connect to our sensuality. Our sensuality is the way that we engage and interact with life. And it's so important that we are able to understand and decipher and be with everything that the body is. Its emotions, its thoughts, its beliefs, it's the spirit. It's all held within this container. And so within that space, I call myself an embodiment composer because my work is really about embodiments. And I create these things called sonic rituals that are compositions that include, electronic music that's like kind of hip hop and a little bit of R&B-ish with like, Mexican culture and inspirations and sound healing bowls. And it's kind of just like a mashup of things that are me, that I respond to, that I create to be able to support and hold space for people to see themselves.
Thank you for sharing that, Iane. Being able to experience your sonic ritual, I can feel how personal and intentional you are with the embodiment, and I definitely feel it through that experience. So y'all definitely want to come to the festival because Iane will be leading a workshop, a sonic ritual for us this year as we continue to explore reclaiming our ancestral healing practices, and sound and music is definitely one of them.
Yes, and Sierra, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. I was just taking that all in, and as a DJ, that definitely speaks to me simply because sound is such a transformative element, in a way that we can speak to people. So, as a DJ, even as a storyteller, someone who went to school for television and film, so much of a great and moving piece is the musical components that embody or kind of um, complement what you are visually seeing. And so even back then, it's like I've always been aware of how moving and just how touching music and sound can be. And so, as not just a DJ, as a documentarian, as a storyteller, as someone who does a lot of sound work with the silent disco as well. Yeah, it's always been a thing that spoke to me, and without necessarily the technical elements of knowing. And I never went to school for any kind of musical knowledge and history. It was just something that spoke to me through these sounds and through these healing elements. And so, yeah, it's just as Yanni was saying, like it's just such a healing power. And yeah, as a DJ, it's awesome just to be able to have a hand in that and kind of curating and composing what people call a vibe. It's just you're able to. I always see it as kind of like being a snake charmer in a way,
Yeah.
because you really are in control of an experience. And so providing an experience and being just as intentional about that, it's much more than, making people dance. You are forcing them to move and to heal and to confront a stagnancy that they face in their everyday life. So yeah, I just want to speak to, just the power of music and healing through sound.
Yes, thank you for sharing, Sierra. And I also want to uplift like the empowerment that you offer as a vibe curator of the silent disco, being that, so if no one's familiar with silent discos, you are able to wear headphones so that you can listen to music in a more intimate setting amongst other people. And to be able to experience that is like, it's very healing because it's invitational if you want it to be, but it also can be very internal as well. So definitely, y'all, check out silent disco because that is a healing experience in itself, to be able to have a communal practice as well as honoring yourself and like how you're feeling in that moment and being able to change the channel, change the vibe, get different frequencies. So happy to have both of you in the room because we've experienced y'all in your own right and practices, but to have this collective discussion of the intersectionalities, I'm really looking forward to our conversation today.
Yeah, and I was excited with you all sharing about your work too. What I got excited about was just remembering those experiences that each of you curate for your own communities, and that we've been able to experience and bring that to our Soultry community. And it's just so special because, again, like I think when you create your own thing from scratch, there's just this other element, that goes into it. And I've been able to really experience that through both of the offerings that y'all have continued to share with the community. So yeah, I'm like Alyssa, I'm just so excited for this conversation. And that's why we're like, oh, let's have them together, because we're like trying to choose and curate who we wanted for the conversations. And so already I feel like there's already so much coming through.
Layering. So with that said, talking about conversation, if you are tuning in live, feel free to use the chat to like, yes, and like, haha, kiki, boom, cat, all the things. If you watch the replay, you can also share comments. We respond later as well. This will be a community discussion. So as we ask these artists questions about their practice and talk about the festival, feel free to write your questions and comments in the chat. I also want to share that towards the end of the discussion, we'll have the official Q&A, but you can feel free to talk and add your energy and your vibes through the conversation. That's why we kind of have it live. We want to offer the element of people being able to drop by, say hello, because that's how interesting conversations happen in casual encounters. So with that said, I want to talk a little bit, ground us in before we talk about the festival, what the festival theme is and why we do it, so that everyone has that context, and then we'll begin to dive into directed questions to y'all. So our Summer Solstice Arts and Wellness Festival is every summer during the summer solstice. It's our way of celebrating a new season, the summer season, the season of creativity, play, pleasure, all kinds of things. And so we just really want to mark that time for our community to remember that summers are meant to be slower. Summers are meant to be times where we can take a break from the stagnation and move our bodies. It's a time when we think about, like, as kids, where we have summer break, we go on vacation, and we just really wanted to create our own way to help our community create their own intentions of how they want to spend the next 3 months, the summer months. And do you want to add any more about why the summer solstice?
Yeah, because we love astrology, we love Mama Nature, we love all of those elements. And so to celebrate the solstice, which is literally the 21st. And so this year, our festival will be that weekend, which is going to have even heightened energy and alignment with like Mama Universe. Which is exciting. And then, of course, as Soultry sisters, we put our spin to it. So that's why we call it the Summer Soulstice, SOUL Festival. And it's also an arts and wellness festival because that's like a part of our mission and our vision is really just bringing in and reminding folks, because again, this is not something we created, but reminding folks that art and wellness have always been in conversation, that art helps heal us, and then wellness also helps us be creative. And so it's really a weekend long, kind of like a retreat. But we also are passionate about like, you don't have to leave your own hometown, you don't have to leave where you grow up to have this healing and embodiment experience that we curate and cultivate for our community. And so it's really kind of a labor of love that like helps us pour back into our community while also we get poured into through all the guest artists. And again, for our folks to like set these really intentions for the summer season. And even like for us and the personal work that we do, we've seen those benefits of the things you speak in during that weekend eventually will sprout and will harvest and blossom. And so that's really what we're trying to cultivate for our community.
Yeah, and for Iane and Sierra, both in your program, we do notice that y'all also recognize different seasons and astrology. So would you like to share a little bit about if you recognize the summer solstice, if you have any summer solstice rituals or practices of honoring that season? We'd love to know.
That's a good question. I don't know if I have any rituals per se, but I mean, what I do acknowledge is I acknowledge my own body's connection to the earth and recognize that I have similar patterns as well. So winter is really winter for me, where like I let myself be in like rest and like dream state, right? Like the seed is in me, it's in the earth. It doesn't need to be anything other than like in the darkness, in the moisture, the depths of the nourishment of the earth. And then spring, it's like, that's when I start like getting like, okay, she's about to come out, she ready. And then summer, I really feel like I do really feel vibrant. And January is my birth month, but August is my other favorite month. And so August is just always so magical for me. And then fall is always like, you start to get cozy, you start to slow down. And so like, I acknowledge my own body's rhythm, and because I do feel so harmonious with the seasonal changes.
Thank you for sharing that.
When I think of rituals, or especially when it comes to the summertime and the summer solstice, as somebody who is into astrology, or I do astrology and birth chart readings and natal chart readings and all that stuff on the side, but individually, it's always really interesting because as a Cancer rising, usually during Gemini season, it's like my 12th house season. So it requires a lot more introspection. It requires me to look inward. So that's kind of, right at the beginning of summer. So where everybody's like, finally, it's summer. I have to kind of take a step back and be like, okay, what are my goals? What am I trying to accomplish? And so with astrology, it more so teaches me like, I don't necessarily I'm a co-creator with life and with time, because time is gonna pass by. I have no control. I can't wish that it's, a Taurus moon, or I can't wish that right now is going to be a Pisces moon. Whatever it is, I have to go with it. So with the silent disco, when we plan days for the silent disco, we actually take a look at what the astrology of the day is going to look like, and we kind of plan according to that. So we have different dates planned, and we choose, okay, well, which one supports dancing, which one supports, liberating yourself through dance, or healing in that way, or losing yourself in music. And so we pick dates through that. But in terms of rituals in particular. I'm a new moon and a full moon girly. So I do my full moon rituals, I do my new moon rituals, closing out and then bringing in. And that normally changes depending on what moon and the cycle that it is in. So for the most part, when it comes to this summer, I think there's going to be a lot of great things popping off this summer. So my ritual, yes, yes, the stars are saying yes. And so I'm just more so removing the things that aren't, so the things that are meant for us this summer can find it or their way easier to me. So that's more so what I'm thinking in terms of this summer solstice. And kicking it off with the Soultry sisters is definitely a ritual within itself, one could
Yes.
say.
Yes.
True.
Yeah, we love hearing like honoring the different how our bodies respond to the different seasons, how we respond to the different our astrological signs. I guess a follow-up question just for fun, should we share our big three just for fun? You know, I don't know. I mean, I don't know anyone in the comments asking, but I'm just interested. So if Iane and Sierra want to share their big three astrological signs for funsies, feel free.
Go ahead. You want to go?
Yeah, I'm down. Yeah, I'm down. I'm a Virgo sun, Leo moon, Cancer rising.
I am a Capricorn sun, Aries moon, Libra rising.
Nice.
And then I am a Pisces sun, Gemini moon, and Capricorn rising. Venus also in Pisces.
Okay, we're gonna add extra.
We got stelliums. Any stelliums in the chat? No.
Okay. I'm an Aries sun, Virgo moon, and Taurus rising.
Oh,
Yes, I know, right. But both of y'all have talked a little bit about like co-creating and listening to Mama Earth, and we want to talk a little bit about this year's theme. So this year's festival theme is reclaiming ancestral healing. Yes, and so if you've been a part of our festivals before, I think Iana, you've been a part of our festivals. Sierra, you have. The first year was about celebrating self. The second year was about cultivating our sanctuary, and this year is reclaiming ancestral healing. So we're kind of going on a collective journey with our community as we continue to dig deeper in conversation with folks. So first, we really wanted to just like, summer is about celebrating ourselves. We got to live vibrant, shine bright. We really wanted people to find that empowerment through community healing. Second year, cultivating sanctuary. We wanted to talk about like, what do healing gathering spaces look like? What can they look like? Can they be a silent disco? Can they be a sonic ritual? Can they be walking together? We really wanted to explore sanctuary from the sense of body, mind, spirit, and community. And this year, we really wanted to lean into reclaiming ancestral healing. Tony, you want to talk a little bit more about what inspired that for us?
Yeah, it kind of was an extension of last year's theme. So, talking about cultivating our sanctuary, we had a communal altar where we had different elements from our homes. Most Soultry decor is just from our homes, but we had different elements of like photos from our ancestors and angels. And we have oracle cards, tarot cards, bayabas like guava leaves that we use for cleansing. Just different tokens, crystals, of course. And then we invited our community members to add to the altar. And that was like it was special for us because we're kind of sharing our practice because we have altars and our own individual practices in our homes. But to share with our community, and that cultivated a lot of discussion and conversation. And people are like, oh, what are these items? And learning about like the Sankofa, which is a Dinkra symbol, or other people adding things and feeling I guess connected in that way of that, like we're all a part of this. And so we just love that so much that we wanted to kind of really give space for ourselves, one, but also our community, whether that's the artists or the attendees, to really reflect and dive deeper into those practices. Because in the last 2 years, we share practices that are part of our ancestral background. And I think a lot of our artists do as well. But we wanted to really dedicate space this year that like that's what we're talking about, to really uplift and highlight all of our cultural backgrounds, because that's also a part of Soultry Sisters, is like we're a very like multicultural, multi-generational community, and we really wanted to be able to uplift that, especially in the current climate of, you know, there's a lot of conversations of like decolonizing, being anti-colonial, and a lot of the like typical arts and wellness industry tends to exploit our ancestral practices. And so again, we wanted to highlight it in a very, what do you call it, just unapologetic way, honestly, of just like these things come from our practice. So like our itinerary of things, whether that's music, because that's something that we grew up using through like our dad and mom's family, and we're dancers, whether that's herbalism, that's a big practice of mine now. But we also, for the last 2 years, have been sharing bayabas leaves, which are guava leaves, that in Filipino culture we use as cleansing, like smudging. And so this year we're having Dr. Kat to actually talk more about that and have a whole ritual with our community. So yeah, that's a little bit about why we chose it and kind of what to expect. But we did want to ask you both, like, what does reclaiming ancestral healing mean to you?
We'll give that to Sierra first.
Okay. To me, I mean, you guys nailed it. Because one thing that I always think about too, it's so much of ancestral practices are kind of like innate, and so much can be intuitive. But a lot of it is oftentimes repackaged and sold to us at a much higher cost, and usually at a price point out of reach. And so much of reclaiming ancestral healing is kind of remembering what has worked for you. I mean, so much of I don't I wish I were more connected to like a deeper history and deeper understanding of my family history and who I was, or you know, who we were through the years and our family story. Um, Unfortunately, what I do have is music. And so for music, it's told me so much of my upbringing. It's reminded me of my mom's upbringing. It has even at times, you know, guided me through my own. And so I think of even just how music is something that has kind of like walked alongside me and has naturally always been there. And that's something that I'm fortunate hasn't been, you know, repackaged and, you know, resold to me in a different way. It's in an accessible way. And especially with DJing, don't get me wrong, DJing is not cheap. It is not a cheap hobby. But to me, it is worth it, because it's kind of, as somebody who grew up in going to churches, and not just the Catholic Church, the Christian church, teen groups, you know, religion was always kind of pushed on me, and it was always something that I kind of struggled to connect to. But when I went to concerts, when I went to musical gatherings and experiences, that is when I felt the most connected to a higher power. That is when I felt, you know, the power of healing and just the existence of something bigger than all of us on a, you know, granular level. So much of reclaiming ancestral healing is just what has been there for me, what reminds me of who we really are at our core. And it's like that saying, people from fishing towns sing fishing songs. So I just think of how like so much of what we hear is kind of like an unfolding of our history. Even the drums we hear today are just modernized versions of, you know, the very first drum patterns we heard in Africa. So music tells a story of people as well. So it's like, and a people's migration, a people's, you know, growing, a people's revolution. So a lot of art has a power to be powerful. that's it. Same with like our ancestral healing. It's what we gravitate towards. It's what fills our cup. And so I'm fortunate that music is the thing, and I connect to sounds, and that's a great thing. Not everybody's going to connect to the same source of
Mhm.
sound, and
Mhm.
it's not going to provide the same kind of feeling. So it's almost like cleaning your antenna so you can get that information that you need. And so to me, that's a part of reclaiming ancestral healing. When I play music, I get in the mindset of what do I want people to feel? And it's not
Mhm.
even, as I mentioned before, it's not like I went to school, I graduated from the University of DJing. It's something in which I've put hours in time, and it's not even
Mhm.
the technical ability behind DJing, it's the emotion, it's the feeling. I'm choosing this song
Mhm.
because of what it brings out, a feeling. And so it's much more than just the technical elements, because that's even a conversation I've had with people. It's like, equally, there are people who understand the technical elements of DJing, but the soul is just,
Mhm.
you know, that is to me the biggest part of it. People have to feel you. People have to feel your heart in the art that you do. And so I'm very fortunate that, reclaiming my ancestral history and healing is literally just, diving deeper into sounds that call to me.
Mhm. I
Yeah,
resonate
thank you.
with that.
Yeah, I was gonna share how, Sierra, you mentioned how, like, yeah, different elements, different practices resonate with different people, and that's really why at the festival we try to have a little bit of everything. One, to kind of showcase parts of our journey, like me and Alyssa's journey of like, oh, these are things that we truly do or love or really um, enjoy and connect with, and then as well for our community to connect. And that's why, especially our mixers on the first and the last day, we always have some sort of music component because again it just really helps folks connect, and especially when if some people come by themselves and don't know anyone, and then so sometimes music, if they hear their favorite song or they hear patterns and frequencies that tap into the heart or whatever, it helps kind of activate the space and open everyone and connect in a special way. So it was special to hear you really talk about that, because we feel it, and that's why we connected you and have you back. But yeah, thank you for sharing.
So I'd love to pass this on to you, Iane, of how you, in the work that you do, or even how you look at what is reclaiming ancestral healing look like for you.
So since my work is really body based, for me, reclaiming ancestral healing is reclaiming that the medicine that we crave externally, or we've been taught to like crave externally or receive externally, is actually within us. And that's why I really love sound as a medium of exploration of the self, is because it, in a really gentle way, allows you to see into yourself and to hold space for yourself in a way that allows you to connect to the deepest parts of you that are connected to the deepest parts of your ancestry. The last container that I held space for was about the womb. And so we all have a womb center, regardless of our gender. It's where we came from, and there's a profound and deep connection to that lineage. And so when we can recognize that we can trust our bodies and what they're telling us and what they hold for us, we're trusting that there's this wisdom that's being passed down from the divine source through our people down to us that we can trust and listen to. So reclaiming ancestral healing is really reclaiming the power that we have within ourselves to guide ourselves, to lead with love and honesty. Yeah. I really resonate with this. I really, really resonate with this, because this is like something that I've been thinking a lot about in my own practices and containers that I create, about the sense of connecting to the ancestral self.
And I love how you said, like, what's coming up is like what's already there, what is here, like the body being being wise and knowing what it needs versus external. So I really resonate with that. Um, I feel like both of you, like you mentioned the word trust, mentioned the word listening, and like sound and music. When there's certain times like where I close my eyes, right? When a song is so good, I don't know why I'm like, ooh, and I close my eyes and I don't, it's like, and I want to talk about that. Like, what is it about when a song is so like, you're feeling it? I do. I close my eyes and I just like start to feel like the tingliness and this like release. And it's like when you eat good food, you're like, mm. And so there's something about the body will tell us like when something is resonating. So I feel like sound and music is almost like a way for us to do those check-ins, right? Like reclaiming the ancestral healing that our body will tell us like what playlist we want to play this morning. Are we humming today? It's so I feel like both of y'all from what you're sharing makes me think of how I respond to music and sound. And it's like, it's just this natural response of leaning in or falling back, and how that is great information.
Yeah, and to your point about this idea of information, we judge our feelings a lot, right? We put shame on a lot of the more like negative feeling. Like even that term is, it doesn't serve us properly, but it's information. So like there's coherence and dissonance when you're feeling that sound that just like reverberates and you're like, oh yes, give it to me more. That's the coherence. But then if something is jarring, a sound that is kind of like nails on a chalkboard, it creates a dissonance. The dissonance isn't bad, but it's a response to the thing. And that is information that enables you to kind of reflect on why, how, those kinds of more empowering questions. So sound is really like a mirror.
Ooh, yes, definitely. Definitely a sound is a mirror. So we really look forward to like diving deeper into like this specific experience at the festival. So y'all, if you are listening, definitely make sure to follow these two, because music is medicine, movement is medicine, and we have it within us.
Yeah, and something that came up for me while y'all have been sharing is also how like music and sound healing are also rest practices. And we kind of talked about this in the festival last year for Soultry's workshop. We talked about like the 7 different types of rest, but there's probably even more than that. But I think a lot of times now when we talk about rest in the communities and online, a lot of times people think of like, oh, I need to be on a vacation, or you need to like be doing absolutely nothing in silence. And it's like, no, you could be listening to a playlist, like Alyssa was saying, you could be having different frequencies on, you could go to a sound bath, right? All these different things that tap into the sound is that healing element. And that's really why we love having y'all at our festival to really share with our community that type of rest and that kind of healing. Because I think, yeah, through society, it's been, I think, pushed aside and not as uplifted of like a type of rest that folks can do. But I used to have like a morning playlist that I had, and I listened to every day. And I think because of the songs I had on there, then it was like programming my brain frequencies. Like whenever, if I would be anxious in the morning, I'd play the playlist and then I would feel better. And then in the last 2 days, I've been feeling not great, holding a lot of emotions. I just put my music on and then I've just been shaking my ass, for lack of better words, until it boosts my mood. And I think that just is, just shares, it emphasizes how a lot of these practices we do in different ways that feel good for us, but to really tie it to it's actually healing us.
Yeah.
Definitely. Do y'all have different playlists that y'all like to play to kind of get your bodies going?
Yes and no. I feel like, and I was just digesting a lot of the information said, because I mean, you can really dive into so many different subjects with everything we touch, but so much of like so much of art is a subjective like openness to what is in front of me or what is in the room, what's being played. And even with like the irony of DJing, it's not even because in your toolkit is multiple genres, different songs, different emotions that you could bring up. And you can, like I said, nail all the technical elements. But if you're playing a super upbeat song and you have the energy super high, and then you bring it super low, that could be, it's not inherently wrong, but you just got to be mindful of, the expression and what, your goal is. And so when it comes to music, when it comes to like myself, a lot of my listening is similar to like Tony. It's what am I feeling and what am I trying to like counteract? Or am I trying to feel heard and understood? Am I trying to, connect to something, a feeling, an emotion? And so much of like, as AJ was talking, the physical reaction that you have to music or like the recognitions of its beauty, like I consider those like pockets of heaven, and songs are kind of like planets that you get to live on for a little bit, and it's a different world and you get to, escape in a way. And so it's all about what I'm trying to get, what I'm trying to feel, what I'm currently feeling. But for the most part, right now where I'm at, I'll throw on like a DJ mix too and say, okay, well, what is out there? What am I called to in this, hour chunk of time? And then it's almost like a whole different mindset I engage in. It's like rather than me seeking something out, it's me actively like practicing a sort of discernment. What is my sound and what are the sounds that like I'm into right now? So a lot of it just depends on, what I'm feeling and what I'm going for.
I make playlists by the month. Like I actively like I love my Discover Weekly on Spotify.
Yes.
Like my Discover Weekly is pretty fire.
Nice.
And so inevitably there's always songs that I'll just like throw into, a new playlist that I create for the month. And then I'll reflect back on the months or I can never go wrong with Beyonce to lift my mood. But yeah, in terms of like curation of like the sonic rituals too, it's very like I love the way that you said it. Like, what planet do you want to inhabit for that period of time? It's really about the sensation of where you want to go, what you want to feel, how you want to be taken, what journey do you want to go on. And it's really fascinating curating the sounds, especially when you're on a blank slate, where I understand how I feel in the moment subconsciously, because I'm like, am I angry? Why am I gravitating towards these sounds? I was like, I guess so, but like maybe that's not the point for this ritual. So yeah, it's really an intuitive, just kind of like I like the way that you said it, Sierra, too. Like it's counteracting, I believe you said, like what it is that that I'm trying to feel, just to kind of get to the place where I'm trying to go. So it's kind of piecemeal puzzle piece. Don't have like a necessary like distinct playlist per se.
Yeah, we love it all. I personally, for some reason, I don't know, as long as I've ever learned about this genre, like house music, there's something about that BPM that just is like my personal frequency. Like if I had to pick, I'm like, I'm a house girly, like whether it's deep house, lo-fi jazz house, I mean, all kinds. I just, for some reason, that seems to be the genre that I gravitate towards 90% of the time. And I'm not sure why, but like just that house, it just comforts me so much. Even like I can, but the thing about house, you can even find like house I can cry to, there's, because they have like the more R&B, like take me home. I'm like, but I'm like, yeah.
And I feel like there's probably like a personality test quiz
like
out
I
there
feel
about
like
like
as a
what
person,
genre, because my genre is like neo soul.
she's
Oh my
I'm very
gosh.
like, but I have different hats, personalities I try on, okay? Because also I have in Soultry, if you follow Soultry on Spotify, we have different playlists. And I have a Hot Girls Walk playlist, and then now I have a Pole Princess playlist because I've been getting into pole dancing. But what I was gonna respond to y'all shares was I feel like sound also helps us transform. So it's like maybe because of societal pressures, maybe I don't feel like I can be a stripper or something, but I have my Pole Princess playlist that transforms me, and then I could be that for when I have it on. And then when I have hot girl walks too, that helps me get my miles in for our step and stride challenge. I'm just like, I'm that girl.
That's why you got them fast strides.
Yes, because girl, when I put that playlist on, it helps me get my miles in. So I do feel like, yeah, it depends on my mood and kind of what's going on. So I definitely feel like, yeah, music and sound help us transform. Similar to how Sierra, you said to go to another planet, right? It's helping us transport. Yes, that's the word I was looking for. Transport, and kind of like a portal as well.
Oh, definitely. Because even when it comes to, even as your description of transforming, I can totally see that, because when I'm DJing, like I'm a different me when I DJ. Like I'm not a dancer. I wish I was a dancer. It takes a lot for me to loosen up and to like get out of my head in that way. But when it comes to DJing, 2 songs, I'm in. I'm fluid, and it just like it really does transform you. And maybe that's the Leo moon as well. But as soon as the performance, as soon as you are in a place of that like intentional consciousness, it's just yeah, like I have no like you really can't be stiff in the DJ booth, and you can't convey an energy in that way. And like even at AJ's point, Skepta, he's a British rapper, but he also DJs too, and his DJing, the music that he plays when he DJs is so much different than the music he makes as a personal artist. But in interviews, he's mentioned if you love music, you love house music, because there's just there's just a symbiotic relationship between like how the BPM in house music matches like a general heart rate, and like one that's like upbeat and happy as well. And so it's like even before DJing, I probably wouldn't listen to some of the music that I play, or I play a lot of like remixes, mashups, or edits, and things that recall like a different time, or they're like a mashup of worlds. But as soon as like I hear a song, especially house music, it's like this is going to get a reaction. This is going to uplift people. This is going to get people in a mindset, in a zone that is going to be that kind of like freeing and liberating like energy, at 115 BPMs, like you're moving your feet quite a lot now.
Right? Yeah, I mean, I could get real nerdy with it about house music, and like also as being a dancer, and like thinking of you, Iana, as an embodiment composer, like the history of like how house music really invites all forms of dance, and that's why house dance has a little bit of African, Latin rhythms, jazz. Even the ballerinas got in on it. I mean, I'm like, everyone would just need a piece of this. So it's interesting thinking about how we use music and sound to bring people together under one roof. And so, I mean, I'm not biased about house, but I guess I really am. But
on the subject of reclaiming ancestral like practices as well, it's like house and a lot of electronic music is Black like created, and it started in like the Midwest, and a lot of times like we don't necessarily give it its proper like recognition when it comes to its roots, and we attribute hip hop to like Blackness or the Black identity, and through like certain times of like artistic and cultural renaissance. But just as equally, house music, electronic music, that has been a world opening avenue for Black diaspora like
Mm-hmm.
artists to kind of get their hands in the mix. And I mean, even when you talk about like certain sounds in the diaspora, it's so much of it is connected, and it's just a fabric, or it's just like something removed from, you know, its
Mm.
proximity to where it originally started. And so
Mhm.
so much of, you know, that recognition of house music and its power, it's like, well, yeah, it was started for a specific reason and a specific energy, and like a
Mm.
lot of that has equally been co-opted. When we think of like electronic
Yeah.
music, we don't necessarily see a lot of black faces or a
Mm-hmm.
lot of black spaces that make
Mhm.
room for artists and the pioneers of those genres. So it's like, even, you know, that is a topic for conversation of, you know, reclaiming and identifying, you know, where it started and its
Yeah.
connection to,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you. I love that. I love going down the holes of those pockets. So thank you for uplifting that, Sierra. And to follow up, talking about like reclaiming and ancestral like lineage. Can do you when you think about? I know we kind of talked about it earlier, but just want to circle back to give some space to talk about our ancestors, like instruments, genres of music, genres of, instruments of sound. Do y'all find yourselves curious about connecting those things in the work that you do? And if so, what are some examples?
I've been talking a lot, so I'll let Yana go this time. Yeah.
um, I have my eye on a flute right now.
Ooh.
Okay.
I'm waiting for my tax return.
Ah, nice.
It's the maker of this flute. He himself is Mexican, and uh, was he was trained to create it in the way that like this Aztec flute was
Mm.
first created. So I find that when like the more I do these rituals, the more that I want to integrate where I come from and the history of my people. And what I find when I write something, when I sing, I always want it to be in Spanish, but even more than that, I have a desire to learn Nahua, which is a language that's an indigenous to certain areas of Mexico. And so there is kind of this, like, as I go deeper into my own artistic practice, there's this desire to have a deeper reclamation of the roots that I come from or that I know of. Just to be present to even more of what the medicine has to offer as the facilitator of that.
I
So hopefully a
love that.
flute's coming in my future
Yes.
soon.
Yes.
We so at our most recent sustainable clothing swap, somebody had brought a flute. It's probably not the flute you're looking for, but
Yes.
it's for me. It's almost like it makes you think like, oh wow, this flute's gonna find you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. I'm so here for it.
Yes,
You're gonna,
and Iana, I also love how you name some of the containers you do is sonic ritual, which again, it has the word ritual in your offering, which for our community, I think that's also what we try to uplift and emphasize, that these practices are rituals, or they can be rituals, and to have that intentionality behind it. And from what y'all have been sharing too, I think of that, like, the power of that global connection, because Iana, I know some of your sonic rituals are available online, or they were during the pandemic.
yeah.
And then Sierra as well, some of your music and your mixes. And so I think that's also the beauty of like the sound healing, is that someone across the world can listen to the same thing and have their own experience, right? Or we can have similar responses if we're listening to something. And so, yeah, I just really appreciate that about the work that y'all do, is that it's so intentional about like even y'all sharing right now, we're getting to learn more about like the behind the scenes of your artistry. And I think that's just so beautiful. So I'm hoping those listening and watching are getting so excited for the festival
Mhm.
because you too can experience this in person.
Yes.
Down below we have the link to our website to learn more. But yeah, I just getting so excited. But yeah, I'll pass it to you, Sierra, if you want to share.
Yeah, in terms of the instruments or the sounds or kind of like the diving into like my history, I guess, or family histories. I've always wanted a drum set. When I was younger, I'd always
Mm.
wanted drums. I've always loved drums. And even like as a DJ, I noticed like to me what like separates like certain songs as like songs that I can see myself playing or connecting with. It's usually having a lot to do with the drum pattern. And
Mm.
so I've always gravitated towards drums. But I also do find it really interesting how, I mean, even just before I was a DJ as well, my mom, we aren't necessarily as like connected to her side of the family or even my dad's side of the family. So opportunities for like understanding like the deeper history and our knowledge and like our family history and our roots, a lot of that is through like the art that I see or like through my
Mhm.
own research. And so even like finding the sounds in which like my family, like the sounds in which come from the places where my family is from, a lot of that is like
Mhm.
kind of unraveling the history and, pushing me closer in a way that like I can't have a conversation, but I can still, take the time to find these songs, to learn these sounds and understand where
Mhm.
they come from. And so that for me has been more so like my understanding and kind of my connection to it, because even as somebody who like didn't necessarily grow up with a lot of like Spanish music, or even like Latin inspired music, a lot of my DJ sets I'm incorporating those sounds as well. And so it's a lot of like me pushing myself into those spaces because like I also need to understand and, you know, owe it to not just me, but my family and like my history. And there's a reason why I'm connected to these sounds. And so taking the
Mhm.
time to dive into, what already is there, that is to me a part of the practice as well.
Yes. What's coming up for me is like all this conversation with reclaiming ancestral practices is just I'm excited for us for the festival to create a space to ask questions. It's not about having the answers,
Mhm.
but giving people opportunities to think about it as we share our personal narratives, as we share how we are navigating the exploration of looking back, of looking forward. So I feel like being able to play and question and I think that's going to be a great opportunity for people at the festival to really just not necessarily like think that they have to have all the answers of reclaiming your ancestral healing practices, but like the reclamation comes with owning and having questions and then following those questions and following our intuitions and desires. So I really appreciate y'all sharing a lot of your personal practice. And I really hope this inspires folks who are curious about the festival to come and like meet us in real life. Like, we love to have a good time. And I want to close out with two questions. One, what are you looking forward to um, the most at the festival? And then I'll ask the second question after that.
I'm looking forward to, honestly, this festival is my favorite festival. Like I've been
Oh.
to favorite wellness festival. I've been to several wellness festivals, and the feeling that I get from this one, I feel so seen, right? It's the community where I get to really see myself reflected back to me in a number of different ways. And I don't have to kind of put on a different hat or pretend to be something or someone that I'm not, I feel like understood and seen. And it's just so much fun. And I get to meet new people that are aligned. So I'm just excited to just be in the space.
Yes, we're
Awesome.
excited
Thank
too.
you.
We got to meet some of your friends too.
Oh yeah, the homies came through last
The homies
year.
came through.
So I'm bringing more this year.
Yay!
It's so nice
Yeah.
to see like someone who facilitates to also receive. So
Yeah.
like we really want to honor like people who have offerings and holding space for others, like you're teaching a workshop. It was beautiful to see you also receiving, and it made us, me and Tony, want this year to be a year that we can dive more into being more present. So we have some more support so that we can definitely dive deeper into these workshops with y'all.
Yes, and that means so much to us that you enjoy our festival so much, because of course we put so much energy and effort, and so it's always lovely to hear you all share your experiences. Yeah, Sierra, feel free to share.
Yeah, I mean, just to second that, it really does feel genuine and not necessarily it's not the performance of wellness, because I feel like
Yes.
people in these spaces can tell a difference between like these are people who do it because they want healing across the board, or this is premised off of making as much money and pocketing and, cutting corners when it comes to wellness. And so this is not that. This is wholehearted, like intentional healing and across the spectrum of like different forms of healing that we all need. It's not just like, well, we got to hear different perspectives, and even just seeing like the dichotomy of like sound healing and the different places you come from when it comes to that. There is a spectrum of healing that takes place at the festival that even if sound doesn't connect to somebody, you have so many other opportunities to be grounded and, find like-minded people. And yeah, I'm just excited for the different workshops. You guys are always super connected and super tapped in and plugged in with not just like practitioners, but like, yeah, just like people who are like-minded in your regard. So the kind of social credibility that you have makes me feel confident and really at peace, knowing that there are going to be other practitioners there that will just expand upon all that we do, And so when you have so many people in a space, it's like, especially committed to healing, it's a really powerful thing to be a part of. So I'm just thankful that I get to play a part in it, but also get to be exposed to all different kinds of healing. That it's like putting your music on shuffle. What am I meant to hear? What am I meant to feel?
Yeah.
So it's like
Yes.
I'm excited to, show up and receive whatever I'm meant to receive.
Yes,
Well,
and I
thank
guess
you.
I'll thank you, but I was like, I'll insert just little fun facts of how we know both of y'all. Because kind of to Sierra, your point of like, the like-minded intentionality of the people that we bring in, it's because we're really in community with the folks that we collaborate with, truly. Like a lot of y'all are friends or are co-conspirators in this work that we do. So me and Sierra went to high school together, so we know each other way back when.
Oh.
And we've stayed connected and seen each other transform through different iterations, and to be able to see both of us, do different offerings for our community in our hometown is really special. And so that's always nice to be able to work with people that we've known for so long, and even some of our volunteers for the festival, like our best friends from middle school. And then Iane, we know you from Brenda, and then through that we did our World Pleasure Day with you back in 2020, and that was kind of that's what launched our Soulscape, because of you having World Pleasure Day. Then that kind of pushed us to go beyond what we currently were doing at that time, because everything you were sharing about World Pleasure Day, we resonated with. And then we were like, oh, let's create a new offering for that. Like, we're not just going to like bring whatever we already had. We're like, let's do something really tailored to, you know, that kind of full body embodiment and the spectrum of sensuality. And I love all things pleasure as
Yes.
a former STI
Yeah.
counselor and pleasure herbalist. So yeah, so that's
Yes.
just a little fun fact about how we know y'all, just for those watching and who may not know.
Yeah, and we were just really inspired by the work that you do. So closing out, we want to give space for y'all to shamelessly plug what y'all have coming up, what you got going on, and how people can stay connected to y'all.
Want to go first here?
Yeah, so we got a silent disco coming this Saturday. So as AJ and Tony have talked, this could be your experience. I like to promote it as you could be DJ for the night. We got 3 DJs playing at the same time, but you with your headphones, you can curate the kind of night you want to have. We're all playing different music, so you just get to tune in and just tap into whatever planet you want to reside on through the silent disco headphones. I'm also starting a community-based internet radio station. So that is launching May 25th. It's going to be our launch day, and we have so far gotten a handful of mutual aid organizers and sound practitioners and DJs, and we're excited to bring the community programming rather than, dispersing our attention and fighting for engagement and recognition. We can kind of join forces. And so that is the heart of that. So we're throwing a big community event, a community activation event, May 25th, where you'll actually meet some of the hosts. We'll also have free food because you got to feed the community. You know what I'm saying? You got to not just feed into the community, you got to show it in tangible ways, such as feeding them. And we're going to end it with a documentary screening showing the process of starting and now that we're live. So May 25th, pull up. It'll be a good time. So, and also opening the floor to any kind of people and any kind of programming that people in the community, in the Soultry community have that they'd like to put on Radio. Definitely open to talking because the whole goal is to remove the barrier to entry. So talk to me. At the core, we are community based. So those are my plugs. I think I said it all. Yeah.
Yes, we love it. We added into the chat like the link to connect with the Silent Disco and Radio. So in the chat, you can click the links. You can follow to get more information to get your tickets for this Saturday, as well as attend May 24th at John Landis Park. Is that correct?
Yes.
It's going to be
May
an
25th at John Landis.
25th,
Yes.
25th. All right, Iyane, shamelessly plug. What do you got going on?
So I have a space I'm calling the listening space. It's a place to see yourself through sound, free yourself through frequency. We're having our third gathering. We do it We've been doing monthly. We have our third gathering coming in on June 9th, which is a Sunday morning. We're focusing on different chakra energy centers. And this next one is going to be the solar plexus. It's called Feeling Myself. And it's going to be, we have plant medicine in addition to sound medicine and movement. This is going to be a little bit of self-touch just to love on ourselves. The solar plexus is about engaging our creative will, our creative beauty, and to love on ourselves. And then August 18th is World Pleasure Day. So that's coming up. We're in our 5th year of celebration this year, which is crazy. So you can go to worldpleasureday.com to see previous year's content and to see this year's celebration. TBD on whether it's in person or not. I'm still working out the function of that, but those are the things that I got going on. I also have a podcast called Pleasure Revolution if you'd like to go listen on previous episodes. So
Yes, we'll put that all in the chat.
Yes, thank you. And our community, definitely go check them out. There's so many awesome things happening, especially since after the festival we have our break. definitely go out to all of these different offerings. But what I wanted to share is that, like, through our conversation tonight, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but I want to share a little bit more. But what came up is Sankofa, which is the Adinkra symbol to go back so you can go forward, which, again, with both of you have shared elements of like thinking back and going back, learning from your own culture, being inspired. And that's how you move forward in your artistry and your art practices and these cultural offerings that you have. And so, yeah, that's really what the festival is about. And we're trying to highlight this year. So I just thank you both for sharing your insight, your knowledge, your experiences with our community. I just love this container. So we just love hanging out with our friends and our guest artists all the time. So it just brings me back. But yeah, so I'll pass it to you, Alyssa.
Yes, so we're going to continue this artist talk series counting down to the Summer Solstice Festival. So make sure to tune in next week. If you have any questions for us and you're watching the replay, you can comment down below. If you have questions for these amazing artists, you can like and follow them on social media handles. You can get tickets to their events and meet them in real life. Become a homie of theirs because they are homies of ours. Thank you so much. And we will see y'all next week.
Yes, thank you.